Oh, hello there, Animaniacs. You've just tuned into a new episode of B-Movie Enema the series. I'm Jeff Arbuckle, your friendly neighborhood Enema Man. Over there is Nurse Disembody.
Hello, everybody.
And, of course, we should also make sure to introduce the true star of the show, the great B-Movie Poop Shoot. Well, of course you're the real star of the show. It's not Nurse Disembody. And it ain't me.
You can say that again.
What's that, Nurse?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Alright, so now that we got that all squared away, the main reason why you're the main star of this whole shindig here is because, well, you give us the movies each week. So, you know, make with the movie? Well, there you go. Let's see what you got for us this week. Well, what do you know?
What you got there, Jeff?
Remember a few episodes ago I had that big-ass diatribe about comic books, particularly some of the early days of DC Comics and the creators of Batman and stuff?
I kind of remember that. Frankly, I don't remember much of what goes on in these episodes from one week to the next.
Yeah, Wait, what? You don't remember things that happen in these episodes? Huh. Well, I guess I did mostly write you out of that episode by making you make Johnny Longbow stew.
That was some pretty good stew.
Sure was.
Yep.
Anyway, we have another episode like that this week. I'm going to have a lot to say about comic books.
So, I'm getting most of the episode off again?
Nope, you'll get to help out a little bit.
Oh, great. Great.
This week we're watching Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned.
Ooh, more vampires?
Yep, and it's Dracula, no less.
That's pretty cool. What's the connection to comic books?
Now, there are a couple of titles that can be tied to this movie. The original name is one that I am not even going to try to pronounce. I mean, you see, it comes to us from Japan. It's during a time in which Stan Lee and Marvel Entertainment licensed some Marvel properties to the Japanese production studio Toei. There was a Japanese version of Spider-Man in which our hero has a giant robot. How bitchin' is that? One of those properties is the comic series, The Tomb of Dracula. Now, we're going to come back around to that a little bit later in this episode. So, this was an anime TV movie made by Toei Animation, and more on them later as well. But the title, translated literally from Japanese, is The Emperor of Darkness, the Vampire Dracula.
That sounds epic.
Right? The third title that sometimes shows up on the more colloquial level is The Tomb of Dracula, but this was aired on TV in August of 1980 in Japan. And later in 1983, Harmony Gold, and you better believe we'll get to them later too, imported this to air on cable TV under that Dracula Sovereign of the Damned title. So, that said, I think we should just get right into the movie when...
Jeff?
What's up, Nurse?
This is an animated movie, right?
Yep.
Are we gonna be switching places again?
Nah.
Oh, thank God. That was a deeply disturbing experience.
Sure was.
I had hands and arms, and I think I had an actual butt. It was a lot.
Anyway, we're going to get the movie started, and when we come back, I'll get into the whole Tomb of Dracula stuff and how it directly connects to this movie.
From the dawn of creation, the history of our universe has been one of violent conflict, a chaotic clash of opposing forces vying to dominate the void. The very elements of nature itself are in constant upheaval, an eternal combat of opposites. light against darkness, heat against cold, motion against inertia. And on the world of humankind, the awesome struggle of good against evil, the conflict between love and malevolence. In Transylvania stands a sinister castle, a fortress shelter of evil and death. The lord of this castle is the tragic and terrifying personification of the cruel conflict between the affirmation of life and the corruptions of death. Condemned to exist eternally, unliving but undead, and tormented by mortal passions, he is known as Dracula. Driven from his native Europe by the relentless pursuit of an organization of vampire hunters, Count Dracula fled to the United States of America, seeking to hide himself in the city of Boston. His was not the only evil presence in this city, for amongst the mortals there was a group who practiced secret, dark deeds. They met in a church, but their form of worship was an unholy desecration.
I hope you'll forgive us for being late to the service, Master, but our car got tied up in a traffic jam.
No excuses! You know we can't begin the service until you've carved the altar, so bring your tools here and get to work. Tonight we give a bride to Satan. Disciples of Lucifer, hear me. Tonight we invoke the living presence of our Master himself. We beseech the Lord of Darkness to rise from hell and accept our sacrifice. We pray the maiden we have chosen to present to him shall be found worthy. Now let the invocation begin. Almighty Lucifer, hear and grant the plea of your people. Appear before us and accept our worship. Abaddon, Beelzebub, Baal, Mephistopheles, thou whose name is legend, come forth, we humbly entreat thee. Almighty Satan, commander of the forces of evil, praised be thy name.
Almighty Satan, Lord of the Hades, we beseech thee to appear and accept our humble sacrifice.
Come forth, Almighty Master of our souls, appear and accept our worship.
Almighty Master of our souls, appear and accept our worship.
Lucifer, come forth. Geshando, Hakamanita, Semeni, Semena. Geshando, Hakamanita, Hasanini, Geshando.
Hasanini, Geshando, Hakamanita, Semena. Geshando, Hakamanita, Semeni, Semena.
Geshando, Hakamanita, Semeni, Semena.
Geshando, Hakamanita, Semeni, Semena.
Satan, come forth!
Satan, come forth! Satan, come forth!
Behold, it is the living presence of Satan, ruler of disciples of the Black Mass, giver of immortality, ruthless destroyer of the faint-hearted disbelievers. All power to thee, and to the coming of thy dark kingdom here on earth. We, thy true believers, have invoked thy presence here in order to present you with our offering of a mortal bride. We pray you find our choice acceptable. Dolores, rise and step forward. Disciples of Satan, rejoice! In this alliance with our mortal bride, Lucifer's reign on earth draws nigh. And now, let all hearts join in joyous praise of Dolores, bride of Satan! Hail, Dolores, bride of Satan! Hail to Dolores! Hail to Almighty Lucifer! Hail to the coming of the kingdom of darkness! Hail to Dolores, the bride of Lucifer! Behold! Our offering has been found worthy in the eyes of Almighty Lucifer!
The offering was found worthy, but it was not Satan who received a bride this night. It was Dracula who bore the woman Dolores away from the devil worshippers. High above the city, on the leathery wings of a giant vampire bat, the intended bride of Lucifer was stolen away. The beautiful Dolores had aroused the unholy desires of Dracula, and he intended to claim her for himself. She would be his for all eternity. He would make her immortal, like himself. She would be released from the restricting bonds of mortal life, and she would be his forever.
How can it be possible for a creature such as I to feel such a tender emotion as love? It can't be. But I must have blood. I can't. But I must have blood!
Goodbye, Harold! disgusting.
Oh, no.
Wow, look at that. They shouldn't show stuff like that on the air.
That woman had to be crazy walking through that neighborhood late at night all by herself.
Sure was a pretty woman. What kind of a loony creep would want to kill her?
He had long, pointy teeth like some sort of wolf or something. And he had these big red eyes, and then he bit her on the neck.
Bite marks were found on the woman's neck. And can you tell us what happened next, sir?
It was awful. He sucks her blood. Like this. And then the man turned into a bat. He grew wings like a bat and he flew away.
The eyewitness, we learned, has a 30-year history of alcoholic hallucinations. Police placed no credence in his story. He was taken to a sanitarium for treatment.
And then... sounds like a vampire movie.
Yeah, don't laugh. That guy could be telling the truth.
Come on, you mean you believe in vampires?
You should pay my alimony. That old bat I was married to is a real bloodsucker.
Yeah. Somebody here wants to talk to you, Frank.
Thanks, Al. Hello, this is Frank Drake.
Mr. Drake, I'm calling for someone who needs to see you about a very important matter. Could you please meet us by the flower bed at the entrance of the park? It's quite urgent.
You better tell me who you are and what you want first, because I'm not partial to mystery meetings with perfect strangers.
I can't explain over the phone.
Too bad. You got a nice voice, and I'm curious about your looks, but it's just like I've been saying, Frank Drake isn't into mysteries, Buttercup.
But Mr. Drake, or may I call you Mr. Dracula?
Huh? What's that? So you think my name is Dracula, huh? Well, I don't know what kind of a game it is you think you're playing here.
I assure you, young man, I am not playing games, nor am I here to threaten you. But let's get one thing straight right now. I have made it my business to trace your ancestry, and I know you are a direct descendant of Count Dracula of Transylvania. Your ancestor was Dracula's first son, born before the Count became a vampire, so you were spared that evil curse.
Spared, was I? I still have to carry the name of that evil monster Dracula, and all the memories attached to it.
If you truly hate Dracula, you will join me as a hunter whose whole life is dedicated to tracking him down and liquidating him. Well, how about it?
You're out of your ever-loving skull. If you think you got a chance against the likes of Count Dracula, you've got another thing coming. As for me joining you, I got 2 words for you. Goodbye. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, knock it off. Hey.
What are you, crazy?
You, what's the big idea, huh? You're lucky I didn't kick your skull in, you old fool. You've got some explaining to do.
My research on you disclosed that you were a master of martial arts, but I needed to test the level of your proficiency for myself in order to decide if you were qualified to be a vampire hunter.
Huh? You must be joking. Jeez, you must have every book ever written about vampires, werewolves, zombies, and black magic stuff.
I wrote a few of them myself.
You're really serious about all this stuff, aren't you?
Deadly serious, Frank. Deadly serious. I'm a professor of science and philosophy with many years of deep research in metaphysics. I assure you, Mr. Drake, I know what I'm doing.
Okay, I'm impressed. But I'm still not convinced that you have any idea what you're up against. No disrespect, sir, but you can't even imagine how dangerous a real vampire can be.
I can't, eh? Let me tell you a story, son.
Yes.
Of Dracula's black history, none came closer to destroying him than those two brave men. One was my father, Jonathan Harker. The other was Rachel's grandfather, Abraham von Helsing.
Well, I guess I understand now why the two of you became vampire hunters. But where do I fit in?
It's your chance to clear your name and earn the gratitude of all mankind. How about it?
The gratitude of all mankind, you say? Well, let's see now. At current market rates, with my good name plus the gratitude of all mankind, I might be able to buy a cup of coffee, but I doubt it.
You want money? In here is a check for $100,000.
That's more money than I made all last week. But I'm afraid it's still not quite enough for me to risk my life for. Bye. How about tossing her in as a bonus?
Oh!
Ow! Hey! Oh! Hey, quit it! Come on! What are you... Ah! Oh! Oh, hey, don't get crazy now. Huh?
If you ever try a trick like that again, I'll put an arrow right through your heart. You understand me?
You made your point, honey. We'll forget about the bonus, and I'll just take the $100,000, okay? Okay, now that I've joined your little team of fearless vampire hunters, maybe you can tell me how you propose to track Dracula down.
All right.
Huh?
Elijah was raised in a church until they caught him drinking the holy water.
I don't get it. What can he do?
Elijah's nose is an unerring radar, incredibly sensitive to the scent of evil. We can depend on him to lead us to Count Dracula wherever he may be hiding. Even with his unholy powers, Dracula can't fool or confuse Elijah. You may accept my assurance that finding Dracula will be no problem.
Somehow, the thought of finding Dracula doesn't reassure me an awful lot. I have a feeling that when we find Dracula, that's when our real problems will just be starting. How do you feel about that, Elijah?
I don't understand it. Satan seemed pleased with the bride we offered him, but now he ignores us.
Almighty Prince of Darkness, hear the voice of thy faithful servant on earth. Why have you abandoned your disciples? Why do you ignore our sacrifices? How have we offended thee, O Satan?
Master, hear your priest. I invoke you by name. Abaddon, Baal,
Beelzebub, Lucifer, I command your presence, Almighty One. Come forth!
Satan, come forth!
Mortal! How dare you command the presence of Satan?
No!
Be gone!
Why are you angry? Tell me. I have faithfully followed your every instruction. When you asked for the woman Dolores, I gave her as an offering.
You imbecile! You permitted my intended bride to be stolen away right under your nose by that imposter, Count Dracula!
Impossible! Count Dracula? Such a desecration! Help us to avenge ourselves, Master. This abomination cannot be forgiven. We shall leave no stone unturned until we find Dracula and destroy him!
Patience, mortal! When the time is right, we'll fix Count Dracula!
What do you mean? How long do we have to wait to get our revenge?
I have a very special sort of revenge plan for our dear friend Count Dracula. I promise a revenge more cruel than you can imagine, but you are not to move against Dracula for 1 year, understand?
I hear and I obey.
Count Dracula, beware!
A revenge more cruel than I can imagine. What could that possibly be?
While Satan's disciples ponder his words, a smaller but equally determined group is not waiting to press their pursuit of Dracula. Pledged to find and destroy the monster wherever he may be, however long it may take, the vampire hunters press relentlessly onward. On Christmas Eve of that year, a child was born. Dolores gave birth to Janus, the son of Dracula.
All right, Nurse, are you ready for comic book knowledge to be dropped on you?
Sure. Hit me with it.
Alright, so Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned is an extremely condensed adaptation of the entirety of the comic book series, The Tomb of Dracula. Now, The Tomb of Dracula was a pretty popular 70-issue series that ran from 1972 to 1979 and was published by Marvel Comics. This was a series that had 4 significant Marvel writers work on the series. The first of those writers was Jerry Conway. Now, at the time, Conway was only 20 years old and was one of the young hotshots working at Marvel in the 70s. You see, at the age of 19, he had taken over the publisher's flagship title, The Amazing Spider-Man, directly from Stan Lee with issue 111. Only 11 issues into his tenure on the title, he penned one of the most important Marvel Comics stories ever, the death of Gwen Stacy. He also introduced the characters the Punisher and the Jackal. The former became one of the staples of the darker street-level corner of the Marvel Universe, while the latter became a long-running Spider-Man character.
Could you imagine writing the biggest series in Marvel and you're barely out of high school at the time you wrote your first issue?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Conway was credited as the writer of the first issue of the Tomb of Dracula, which is this one right here. But it was actually really Roy Thomas and Stan Lee who plotted the issue. Conway didn't get his shot at plotting an issue until the second issue, and he took heavy inspiration from the Hammer films that were certainly popular at the time. Now, 2 more writers came in during the early stages of the series, Archie Goodwin and Gardner Fox. Archie Goodwin had a lot of experience with horror, having worked on Vampirella and Creepy for Warren Publishing. Later, he'd do some books for Marvel, including creating Luke Cage, but none of his work at Marvel was quite as big as securing the rights to publish Star Wars comics before he stepped away as editor-in-chief. Gardner Fox was a big name in the golden age of comics, having created the original Flash Jay Garrick and Hawkman. In addition, he created the Justice Society of America, the precursor to the much more popular Justice League of America. And it would be Marv Wolfman who would be most connected to the Tomb of Dracula when it comes to the writing. He came in with issue number 7 and stuck with the series all the way to the end.
I love his name is Wolfman, like the Wolf Man. That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of an awesome little monster connector, isn't it? Marvel even played that up with the house ads for the Tomb of Dracula as well.
I hope they constantly had to defer to their mummy for the story ideas. Eh?
Nah, it's a pretty good one, Nurse.
I have my moments.
Now, if Marv Wolfman would be the guy who really made the Tomb of Dracula the series that would eventually inspire an animated feature, then the entire look of the comic is owed directly to Gene Colan. Now, Colan penciled every single issue of the Tomb of Dracula series.
Wow, is that all that common? One guy drawing every single issue of a long-running comic?
I would say it's not really all that common, to be honest with you. Maybe a little more common back then, but Colan was working on several comics in any one month during his run, too.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's not too common, at least these days, to see an artist working on a whole bunch of monthly titles all at once. Writers, sure, but not artists as much. I mean, you could argue, too, that the comics from the earlier ages were far more detailed and had far more panels and even more pages, making it that much more difficult. But anyway, Gene Colan would become pretty damn synonymous with horror and vampires in particular. He did a lot of superhero stuff too, but he lobbied to do this series and was doing Tomb of Dracula while also still doing stuff for Warren Publishing too, for their horror books. Later on in the 90s, he re-teamed with Wolfman to do another Dracula comic for Dark Horse Comics called The Curse of Dracula. Then a few years later, he also wrote a special one-shot issue of Buffy the Vampire Slayer for a story that featured Nikki, a Slayer from the 70s who only appeared briefly in the TV series. So something here I do want to bring up about the Tomb of Dracula and Gene Colan that I think can be classified as a little bit of comic book Babylon for you. Colan specifically modeled his version of Dracula after a very specific actor, Jack Palance. Now, exactly why he chose Palance, I don't know, beyond being a fan of a Jekyll and Hyde TV movie that starred the actor. But as I said, he lobbied for the job and seemingly won it pretty quickly from Stan Lee, only to find out later that, I don't know if Stan Lee forgot that he assigned Colan to it or whatever, but he was about to lose the job to another artist at Marvel, Bill Everett. And upon learning this, Colan changed gears and auditioned for the job. And when Stan Lee saw his version of Dracula based on Palance, Lee gave Colan the job the very same day he turned in the audition.
That's kind of a crazy random person to base the character on.
Yeah, but the story takes an interesting turn.
Oh, now you've got my attention again.
A year after this series debuted, Jack Palance got cast as Dracula in a TV movie.
Was it because of the comic book?
Actually, no. So I briefly mentioned that Colan was a fan of the TV movie The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which starred Palance. And that was made by the master of television horror, Dan Curtis. Curtis made the Dracula movie and cast Palance for having worked with him previously.
It's like a little infinity loop. A guy made a movie starring someone who would inspire another character in another medium because the artist was inspired by the first guy's movie, and then that artistic version of the character would be played by the guy who the look was based on.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's kind of crazy how that all kind of loops back around, huh? Now, there is more that I want to get into about Marv Wolfman and the Tomb of Dracula series, but we're short on time, so let's get back to the movie. And when I get back, I'll talk about one of the all-time greatest creators in comic book history, at least in my opinion, and a little bit more about the series that inspires the movie that we're watching.
How much longer do you intend to go on with this hopeless wild goose chase? Are you aware an entire year has gone by, and we're no closer to finding Count Dracula than we were the day we started? And you know what? Your unerring and infallible Fleabag there is a total, complete washout.
You're not making matters any better by complaining all the time and blaming poor Elijah because Dracula has somehow managed to escape being detected by disappearing.
There's been a significant change in Dracula's life of late. He used to murder boldly and never bothered to cover his tracks, but now he's acting more cautiously.
Hey, do you suppose that means we're closing in on him? And maybe we've got him scared?
Could be. We are closing in. I've narrowed down the scope of his possible hiding places, and I'm certain he's within this area.
Then I guess we haven't just been wasting our time.
We're closing the noose around his neck, little by little, day by day, Frank. And now we must prepare ourselves for the confrontation. We will soon have his whereabouts pinpointed. He's within our reach, and heaven help us, we're within his reach. Elijah has proved his worth by telling us where Dracula wasn't. Now he can finish his job by showing us where he is. Right, Elijah?
What a beautiful boy. What a beautiful, brave, cheerful, and worthy son I have. Such a good boy, my son. And now you must go to bed and get your sleep, so you'll grow up big and strong. Dolores, there's a shameful secret about myself which I have kept hidden from you all this time.
How could you possibly keep a secret from me, darling?
While it's true I am not a mortal man, I am not your beloved Lucifer, Lord of Darkness, whom you and your fellow disciples worship at the Black Mass. I lied to you. My true identity is revealed in the mirror. You see, I am a vampire. I am not Satan. I am a victim of him who made me this loathsome creature, hated and feared by all mankind.
I don't hate you, Dracula.
What?
I knew the moment our eyes met you weren't Satan. There's just too much love in your eyes. I saw the torment also. Anyone who is capable of such tender feelings could not possibly be Satan.
If you knew this, why did you marry me?
In you, I saw hope for myself. Oh, darling, there is an awesomely powerful bond of love between us that can transform us completely from evil to good. With love, together we can conquer Satan.
Darling, I want to tell you about the man I used to be before I became the cursed slave of Satan. I come from a titled family, from a kingdom in the Balkans, Transylvania. The territory over which I ruled was small, but fertile and beautiful. My life was dedicated to protecting it. It was a bountiful land. The climate was ideal. The soil was rich, the air was clean. Water was plentiful from clear mountain streams that flowed through the valley. My people prospered, and they were loyal in their allegiance to me, for I was a generous and compassionate ruler. We were high-thinking, happy, peace-loving people, content with what we had. We offered no threat to any of our neighbors. But we were fearless in defense of what was ours. Countless times I led my army into battle to ward off invaders seeking to take our land by force. We repelled the Bulgarians, the Hungarians, and the barbarian Hun, Attila the Great. Time and again the barbarians rode against us. Time and again we defeated them. But they always returned to try again. Desperate to convince them of the futility of the slaughter, I adopted my own savage method. I skewered the bodies of the invaders and scattered them about the surrounding countryside as a horrible warning to potential future enemies. I shuddered at my own action, but it spoke to the barbarians in a language that they understood. The strategy worked. Enemies lost their fighting spirit and retreated at the grisly sight of my signposts of death. I had become a butcher in pursuit of peace, and my soul was irrevocably tarnished. I became the target of hatred on all sides, and every warrior who rode against me burned with vengeance. Enemies joined forces with the sole purpose of destroying me, and they succeeded. And so perished the mortal Count Dracula, in an ocean of my own blood. Oh, if only that could be the end of my story. My blood-smeared earthly reputation had caught the attention of Satan himself. I was raised from my grave by his evil power. Neither living nor dead, I was his slave. And thus were my mortal sins on earth rewarded, condemned to exist eternally as the Prince of Vampires. For 500 years, I have fed my insatiable bloodlust, and the name Dracula has become a horrifying abomination to mankind. Formerly a symbol of hope, the cross became for me a source of terror, and I shrank from the reminder of the eternal damnation which it represented to me and to all vampires. As Europeans learned too much about my habits and vulnerabilities, I was forced to flee my native land. I journeyed to a land where the people thought stories about vampires were just silly superstition. Americans seemed more concerned about worldly, material things than about spiritual matters. I discovered the Black Mass cult soon after my arrival in Boston, and I overheard their plan to present a bride to Satan. It was my chance for revenge. On the night appointed for the offering, I hastened to the Church of Satan's Disciples. My plan was simple and cruel. I would steal Satan's bride and destroy her. Then I saw you, and all my plans were forgotten. As you knelt before me in obedient submission and your eyes met mine, I knew I must have you for my own. My need for you overwhelmed my need for revenge. With one bite, I could give you immortality, and you would be mine for all eternity. But a strange force gripped me and would not let me carry out my purpose.
What is this power?
Only now do I realize what that force was. I, the Prince of Vampires, the Lord Sovereign of the Damned, had fallen in love with a mortal woman. Now I behold the result. A beloved son, Janus. My frozen heart burns like a torch. Love and joy were just words describing long-forgotten emotions until I found you and regained my ability to feel them.
I too had lost my humanity. That's why I offered myself to be Satan's bride. I had felt unloved and unwanted all my life until that moment our eyes met. You opened a whole new world to me simply by caring and by showing me that you cared. You made me feel alive and special. When we were together, you never took your eyes off me, and when we talked, you spoke to me, not at me, and you cared what I thought. No woman could ever feel more loved, more cherished than you have made me feel every moment we've been together. Such a man could not possibly be all evil. I know how you suffer, my darling. My heart suffers with you, but our love is worth suffering for.
Oh, my love.
Darling.
Mortal! Our long-awaited and long-cherished time for revenge against Count Dracula has now arrived.
Wonderful. Command me, Master, and you will find me eager and obedient. Go!
It's a message from the disciples of Satan, darling. I wonder what it could be.
Ah, we hail the birth of your Satan-sent child, and we shall gather tonight for the purpose of baptizing your beloved Janus into the fellowship of the Black Mass. This ceremony will place your son under the protection of Satan and will render him safe from all harm.
I'm frightened, darling. That priest is a vengeful person who can't be trusted.
Don't worry. I can handle that, old phony. But the protection that they offer could prove to be very valuable to Janus.
Boy, I've never seen Elijah get so excited. I think he's definitely picking up the scent.
Oh, I've waited a long time for this moment, Dracula.
Don't let anger override caution, child. This is very dangerous business.
Huh. What are you two so uptight about? He's just another boogeyman. I can handle him easy.
It's him, all right.
Just one arrow right in his heart, and my grandfather will be avenged.
Not yet.
Why?
We can't afford any slip-ups at this point. I want to know who that woman is. And I'm very curious about that baby. Could it be Dracula's child?
We'll see. Follow them, Frank.
No one's here. Was that invitation just a cruel joke?
know, but I don't like it. Sealed tight. That solid steel will never be able to break it down. Dracula must have known that we were following him.
We've got to get in there and destroy him before he gets away from us.
You two settle down and quit panicking or we'll lose control of the situation and play right into Dracula's hands as so many before us have done. Just be calm, keep your eyes open, and we'll see how the situation develops.
No! Stop!
Darling!
I can't stand it! Stop!
You! What's going on?
In the name of Lucifer, you, Count Dracula, stand convicted of sacrilege, in that you did fraudulently assume Satan's name, and that you did steal his bride, Dolores. Prepare to die!
You fool! Put down that gun! You're endangering my wife and child! You hear me? Drop it right now! I command you to obey! You're wasting your time if you think your puny bullets can harm Count Dracula!
Don't be too certain of your immortality, Dracula. Lord Lucifer, who gave you eternal life, also has the power to destroy that life. He instructed me to load the gun with silver bullets.
Hey, silver?
And you have no power to force me to drop the gun. Look around you, Dracula.
Take it away!
Die, vampire! What? Where'd you go?
My baby! Janus, no! You shot my baby! Oh, my baby! Oh, Janus!
My son!
Our baby is dead!
I didn't mean to do it.
You killed my son!
How can you allow the murder of an innocent child? I'll destroy this temple with my bare hands!
This might well be our chance. Get ready. Look out! Good Lord. Come on. Attack Elijah. Frank, move in and try to throw him down so we can drive a stake through his heart.
Keep him distracted, Frank. I'll get him. This is for my grandfather.
Monster!
No more killing. Our baby is dead, and you can't bring him back to life by spilling these people's blood in revenge. Hear me with the human heart that I know beats within you, Dracula.
No more killing, please! Dracula! Don't leave me! Come back!
My darling baby! Why couldn't you have destroyed me instead of my dear innocent son? Mourn him now, with storm clouds! All nature must mourn the murder of Janus, my son!
In the days that followed, a strange quiet fell over the city of Boston. Four hours west of Boston by limited express lies the largest city in the Western Hemisphere, the teeming metropolis of New York City.
Get down, yeah!
Uh-oh. Hey, I'm sorry, babe. It's too noisy to apologize properly, though. Why don't we go out to the car?
Okay, dude.
What's your sign?
Caution, man at work. Actually, I'm a triple Scorpio.
Oh.
In the news headlines, another bloodless corpse has been found in the recent wave of grisly murders by the so-called vampire killer. Identity of the latest victim has been withheld, but as with all previous victims, the body was drained of its blood.
Ha ha! They'll never take me alive. You didn't know I was the vampire killer, did you?
Oh, don't joke about such a thing.
I don't know what you mean. I was being serious.
Quit that. Be a nice guy, will ya?
Okay, come on now.
What?
You better not play games with me or I'll bite a hole in your neck and suck your blood out. Remember, I'm the big, bad, bloodthirsty vampire.
Don't! You're scaring me!
Ah, don't be uptight. Come on, give me a kiss. What's happening? I don't believe it!
Meet the real big bad vampire!
The real vampire?
Meanwhile, back in Boston, at the home of Hans Harker,
Those New York murders are quite intriguing. It sounds like Dracula's work, all right. I guess he must have gone insane with rage because of the death of his baby. At any rate, there's one thing for sure. Those New York murders are definitely the work of a vampire.
I don't think we should just assume that it's Dracula who committed all those New York murders. He isn't the world's only vampire, you know.
You probably have a good point there, Rachel, and we shouldn't jump to conclusions and make assumptions where Dracula is concerned, because he could be hiding out right under our noses, right here in Boston. I've noticed that Elijah doesn't seem restless or in any hurry to leave here. Our best bet is to keep an eye on Dracula's wife. I've been keeping tabs on her. She visits the baby's grave every day, and she still seems to be in a state of shock.
I feel sorry for her. She's had to endure so much tragedy in her lifetime.
You must harden your heart. Remember, we must destroy her husband. He seems to be more genuinely devoted to his wife than any husband I've ever heard of, Hans. I don't think he'd abandon her without ever trying to see her again. We all seem to be in agreement, then. If we keep our eye on her, Dracula's bound to show up sooner or later.
My baby, I just can't believe that you've been taken away from me forever. I see you so clearly, and I hear your sweet voice in all my dreams and in my every waking thought as well. How he
Good
loved
boy,
you.
my son.
How happy we were together. Now that I've lost you both, I can't go on. Forgive me, my darling Janus, but I can't go on.
No!
Janus.
Frank, Rachel, try to stop her. Oh!
Thou shalt not take thy life, Dolores.
Heaven forgive me, but without Dracula or Janus, I have no reason or desire to live. Have mercy on me and allow me to end the unbearable misery I've brought upon myself by turning my back on heaven and offering myself to the black forces of evil. I regret ever having been born into such a life of wickedness and suffering.
You have sinned, and you have therefore suffered greatly. But heaven has never turned its back on you. You shall be granted a second opportunity.
What? Janus! Oh!
A genuine miracle.
It's the heavenly light of revival. It's coming from the cemetery. What's the meaning of this? It's shining directly over the place where Janus is buried, eh? Now I understand it. The enemy is going to bring him back to life in an attempt to bring about my downfall by making me confront my own son in a test of his heavenly powers against the black powers given to me by Satan. I must stop it!
Janus? Oh, Janus. He moved. He's breathing. My baby, my baby. Come, let me hold you in my arms. Janus. Huh? What's happening?
No, Janus, no!
Oh! It's my husband!
You will not turn my son against me! Janus, my son!
Don't hurt him! It just isn't possible you could be my son, Janus.
Yes, it is, Mother.
Oh, darling Janus, it is you. I don't understand it, but I know it's true. My loving heart recognizes you.
Oh, no! Janus! You have been revived solely for the purpose of destroying your own father!
Janus, he's your father. That poor tortured and tormented creature deserves your mercy.
Is he not the vampire Dracula, servant of Satan?
Yes. is more a victim than a willing servant of Satan, my son. He did not choose to be a vampire, and you must not blame him.
Mother, I have to kill him.
Kill your father?
I have no choice in this matter. That's why I was revived.
But he loves you so much.
I am only doing what I was created to do, Mother. I have no choice. That's it. Try to understand. It's not my choice to do this thing any more than it was his willing choice to be a slave of Satan.
You're both helpless then, aren't you?
He is the personification of evil, and I am the personification of goodness. We are mortal enemies by our nature.
Well then, does this mean it is my fate to be the personification of hopeless suffering, to look on helplessly while my son and my husband struggle to destroy one another? Is this the punishment heaven has chosen for me?
I have to do it, Mother. And it isn't a matter of revenge and punishment. It's only justice.
Oh, Janus, he loves you so. No child ever had a more devoted father, and he has suffered so much. 500 years of hatred and torment. Oh, Janus, can't anything be done to stop this? Please?
I'm sorry, Mother.
Janus, wait! Please! Janus! Come back! Janus!
Excuse me.
Were you speaking to me?
I hate to intrude upon your grief, but I must have a word with you.
What is it you want?
My name is Hans Harker, and I have some rather distressing information about your husband's past, which I think you should know.
I know everything about my husband's past. He has never kept secrets from me.
Then no doubt he told you that he brutally murdered my father and my wife and my daughter as well. The man is a vampire, a vile monster. He's a demon from hell whose total life is dedicated to committing horrible obscenities upon all mankind. I have vowed upon my sacred honor that I will destroy him.
Your noble purpose has already been accomplished.
My purpose will not be accomplished, madam, until Count Dracula is dead.
My poor, tormented husband, Dracula, has been virtually dead from the moment heaven revived Janus, Mr. Harker. It's only a matter of time before he kills his father.
You seem to be a warm and compassionate human being. Why in the world would a woman like you want to marry such an evil monster as Dracula? And how can you go on defending him, knowing full well what he is?
My husband didn't request to become a vampire. That was the work of Satan. The torments he suffered were far worse than those he inflicted, believe me. He was a compassionate human, and he struggled to overcome the curse of the vampire, which compelled him to commit those abominable murders. His very soul is a tormented battlefield of good striving against evil, love against hate. All my life I pined for love and affection, because my mother died when I was a baby and my father was a cold and uncaring man, concerned only about wealth and position, so I abandoned myself to a wild and reckless life. I pursued adventure and novelty as substitutes for love and peace of mind. I was eager to try any sort of distraction that might help me to forget the gnawing emptiness inside me. I joined the cult of the Black Mass because I was lonely and craved for a sense of belonging, a feeling of kinship with others, however foolish they might be. I agreed to become the bride of Satan as a lark because I didn't truly believe in the occult. Little did I suspect that in that evil environment I would find the love I had sought all my life. I'm wasting my breath. You only understand hate and vengeance.
Alright, more Tomb of Dracula business.
Before we get to that, Jeff.
Oh, what's on your mind, nurse?
I know you said that Dracula was originally based on Jack Palance, but in this movie I'm getting a little bit of young Colonel Sanders vibes. Considering that, why would Dracula choose freaking Boston to move to instead of...
Like, I don't know, Kentucky?
Well, he does look like Colonel Sanders, but what about, like, anywhere else?
I do like that the sacred bride of Satan is named Dolores. All hail the bride of Satan, Dolores.
What's so weird about that? Dolores is totally an evil satanic name.
The character named Dolores in this movie was actually named Damini in the comics. I don't know exactly how that is pronounced, but it's definitely more fitting of a name than Dolores.
I guess. Dolores is still an evil name.
So, as I said in the previous segment, this is an incredibly condensed full adaptation of the entirety of the 70 issues of the Tomb of Dracula that ended just a year prior to the release of this movie. Now, there are a few plot points that the movie adapts quite closely. See the end of the movie for that. However, it was not uncommon for comics of this era to be a combination of episodic adventures where people can come in and out of the series as they wish, and those episodes being within a larger overarching serial that kind of tells a huge complete story over the entire span of issues. Now, one of the big things that can happen when you tell a serialized story like that is you can deepen the relationship between characters in a combination of naturalistic and soap operatic ways. One of my favorite series of all time is a good example of this, and that is Rom. That was a Marvel series that started at the end of the 70s and ran for 75 regular issues and 4 annuals. It featured a core group of characters that built the main emotional and character-driven beats of the series, while also featuring some interloping Marvel characters from time to time. Rom mixing it up with the X-Men is a big deal that has effects in the realm of Marvel and the X-Men to this very day. Rogue's turn toward the light took a huge step when she attempted to absorb something and, some of the essence from Rom. That's all fine and what have you, but when major dramatic moments occur, or when a character is in deep trouble, or in some cases dies, it impacts the long-time readers. And that's something that happened in the Tomb of Dracula series. Characters you followed for several issues or are basically introduced to as a primary member of the cast, but, sometimes things happen to them, like Rachel Van Helsing becomes a vampire and later on, after the series ended, had to be killed by Wolverine in a mercy killing. So for a majority of the series, Rachel and Frank Drake, the two main characters battling Dracula for most of the series, had a romance. So yeah, that's a bummer that she became a vampire in the end. Also, her death happened 3 years after her turning into a vampire, so we were left with her being turned for a while after the fact. So when a movie like this is trying to hit the key notes of a story that took 7 years to tell, it's really hard to nail it down in a way that makes for great narrative sense. This movie kind of has to speed through some fairly major plot points.
I can see that. How closely was the Tomb of Dracula intertwined with the Marvel Universe? You said that Rachel had to be killed by Wolverine. I guess it was pretty much a part of the full universe?
Oh, absolutely. Marvel had a tendency to integrate every single comic and character into their main universe. This included the licensed properties. Dracula and all the other horror characters were indeed intertwined into the Marvel comic universe at the publisher. And Doctor Strange would show up in the series. Dracula would later get mixed up with the X-Men a couple of times beyond Rachel's involvement with the with that particular X-Men annual that found Wolverine killing her. Of course, there would be other horror characters like Jack Russell, the Werewolf by Night, that would interact with the characters as well. However, the big character that made his first appearance in the Tomb of Dracula was Blade the Vampire Hunter, what used to be one of my most random factoids about comic books I had over the past 25 plus years, was the fact that Blade's first appearance came in Tomb of Dracula number 10. Why that specific piece of knowledge got stuck in my head for so long, I have no idea, but it was something I heard around the time of the release of the first Blade movie in 1998, and this individual comic of a series I only knew about but never really read became a part of my permanent memory.
Was he created by the Wolfman?
Indeed he was. Now let's talk about Marv Wolfman. Now Marv Wolfman was another of the young hotshot creators that rose up in the 70s. Before joining DC Comics in 1968, Wolfman was actually quite active in fandom circles and even published fanzines when he was a teenager. In 1965, he was publishing a horror mag called Stories of Suspense. In the second issue, he published a story by Stephen King, one of the first times the Horror Master was ever published. Wolfman would go back and forth from DC to Marvel and back to DC. But at Marvel, he did this series, which allowed him to create Blade. He also co-created Bullseye while he was working on Daredevil. He was also the first main writer of the Spider-Woman series and created her alter ego Jessica Drew. Shortly after, he took over Amazing Spider-Man and introduced Black Cat. And all of that was pretty good, but his work for DC Comics is downright iconic. In 1980, Wolfman left Marvel and rejoined DC and got teamed with my all-time favorite artist, George Perez, to create the new Teen Titans. This included not only bringing back established Teen Titan characters such as Robin, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, and Beast Boy, they created the new characters Starfire, Cyborg, and Raven. These three new characters are most associated with the Teen Titans and the later animated series by Cartoon Network. Now, while Wolfman did other work for DC, New Teen Titans was one of the biggest comics on the racks, and the first time DC had a new series to be a big hit in a really long time. And while working on this, Wolfman brought the idea to the head honchos of DC about an interesting way to celebrate the upcoming 50th anniversary of DC as a comic book publisher.
Let me guess. It was going to be a big party with lots and lots of cake and party hats and all sorts of fun times?
No, his plans actually involved a crisis.
Oh.
1985's Crisis on Infinite Earths was both a celebration of DC's publishing history and a way to kind of reset the publisher's table of characters and continuity. It is basically the first ever total line crossover in comic book history. Every single comic in DC's lineup was affected by the event, and as Roger Hayden, the Psycho Pirate, said in his final monologue in the final frames of the series, "Worlds lived, worlds died, and nothing will ever be the same." And nothing would ever be the same again, as DC had a new timeline to follow and updated origins created for all their heroes. Characters whose stories were still going on a different version of Earth would have to end those continuities and join the new main Earth, or they were killed if they were redundant. It was an event that has really not been matched since. And it's one of the greatest comic stories ever told, and certainly one of the greatest superhero stories I've ever read, or likely will ever read.
Too bad we're not watching a movie version of that.
There have been a few attempts to adapt Crisis on Infinite Earths, and the results are mixed.
Hey, kind of like this movie, right?
That's right. So let's get to the thrilling conclusion of Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned to see if they can stick the landing on this truly interesting adaptation.
It's no use. I must have blood.
No more, Father. Heaven will not allow you to murder another.
You must never call me father again, my exalted, heaven-sent, murder-bent, mortal enemy. You're no longer my son, Janus.
You're right. It will make it much easier for me to destroy you if I forget that you're my father.
It would not be wise for you to underestimate the powers I possess, Janus. I shall show you how I have managed to survive for 500 years! So you did inherit some of my powers, and that must be why you were revived, so you could use my own powers against me. But you haven't seen the full extent of the powers of Dracula!
met and fought, and one or both of them could be dead. Oh, my husband and my baby.
Dracula, help me!
That was Dolores! I'll bet that black mass is behind this. Dolores! If they've harmed her... Speak to me! Speak!
I'm all right. Dracula, who brought me here?
Someone who knew this was the best possible way to bring me out of
It's been 500 years since we last met, my dear Count Dracula. I trust all goes well with you.
Satan Lucifer, Prince of Darkness, Lord of the Underworld, as your sovereign of all damned souls, I command you now to appear before me!
It is I who command you here to face judgment.
Oh, darling.
Don't worry. Satan, I demand to know what this is all about.
I've brought you home, dear Count. Your time of ruin is at hand, noble Dracula.
Get on with it. Do your worst, Satan. I'm ready.
Why did you turn against your master, slave?
I served you well.
You have betrayed me and given comfort to my enemy, you ungrateful wretch. For this you will pay dearly. You shall feel the unholy wrath of Satan Lucifer. The woman you stole is nothing to me, but you blaspheme by loving her. Love is the vilest transgression possible in the eyes of Satan, and as my servant you are expressly forbidden to love anyone, yet you and this woman did love one another. And from your love there came a child of heaven.
Hear me now, Lord Lucifer. Do what you will with me, but leave the woman out of this and let her go free at once, you hear?
Why should I do that? You flatter yourself in the belief that the child inherited his powers from you, but in reality it was this mortal woman, his mother, who gave him the awesome power which threatens my very empire now.
Huh? Power? Power? I'm just an ordinary mortal. I have no special powers. You must be mistaken.
No mistake. You have it. An awesome power. You aren't aware of it, but once you gain control of this faculty, you'll want to use it for the good of mankind, and that could destroy centuries of my evil work on Earth. I destroy you, Dracula, for punishment, but I must destroy the woman because she is so exceedingly dangerous.
No, Satan, I will not permit you to destroy her precious life. I will oppose you, and somehow I will find the power to prevent your bringing harm to my wife.
Brave words won't stop me from deposing my just punishment on you.
Dracula! Dracula!
darling.
What's come over me? I've never felt this. Huh?
No woman has found the power to prevent me from wreaking my punishment for the moment, but I'll have my revenge. Go now, both of you.
We're home.
My image is reflected in the mirror.
Elijah.
You two look like you've just seen a ghost or something.
Even stranger. We just saw Count Dracula and he walked right past us calm as a cucumber. Elijah didn't react to him either.
That is strange.
Does that mean he's not a vampire anymore?
That hardly seems likely. I've never heard of it. What do you think, Frank?
Wait till you hear the rest of it. We followed him all the way downtown and watched him get on a train to New York City.
New York City? This bears watching.
Are you certain? He's gone to New York City?
Dracula discovered that Satan had taken away his magical powers and it made him an ordinary mortal man again. He's gone to New York in hopes of finding the vampire Layla, whose venomous bite could restore him. Otherwise, he will die at any time now.
Oh, is there no end to the suffering? I realize I can't persuade you to change your mind and go against the will of heaven. It's just that when I think of you killing your own father... What?
All will be well, Mother. Millions of people inhabit New York City, but only one can help Count Dracula, Layla the vampire, whose bite can restore his immortality. Tired and famished with a hunger of 500 years, Dracula desperately needs money for food. He sees his chance.
Give me your money! In my pocket! Come on, I can't breathe!
You're killing him! Oh! Help! Murder! Help!
Stop! Come back here! After him!
Has it come to this, that I've become a common thief in the streets?
If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. Count Dracula, sovereign of all vampires, exhibiting an apparent hunger for ordinary mortal food. And you're right about Elijah no longer reacting to him, which indicates he has lost his evil aura.
Now's our chance to kill him if he's lost his powers.
We have no justification to kill him if he isn't a vampire. We could all be arrested and convicted of murder.
I have it in silver or gold.
That's Layla, all right. I see she's a redhead these days.
Hey, I found some wine in the refrigerator. Okay if I open it and pour us a drink, babe?
Sure, you go ahead and pour yourself one. But I don't drink wine.
Right. Huh? Hey, I don't know who you are, buddy, but you better have a pretty good reason for busting in here.
Hey, what was that noise? What are you doing out there?
Layla, come here.
I know that voice.
Layla.
Dracula, you spoiled my dinner, and he's RH positive, too. So, what brings you around after all these years and years and years and years?
Layla, I had a run-in with Satan, and as a result, he took away all my powers and made me a mortal man again.
A mortal man, you say? Very interesting. It looks good on you.
You must help me, Layla.
Yeah, I definitely like you this way. Except for your wardrobe.
Layla, please.
So you want to be a vampire again. Glad to be of service. So, come to me, Dracula.
Thanks.
No, Layla! You dare come to me for help when you were the one who betrayed me and turned me into a vampire, making my existence into a living hell.
No, Layla! Yeah! Stop, please!
It'll be a call.
No!
Before I let the wings out of you. You dirty devil, you know what? Die! And good riddance!
Layla!
Shout, baby!
Come back! Layla!
All right, you've got me now. I hope you'll make quick work of it, my loving son.
I cannot harm you now that you're a mortal human being. I am empowered solely for the destruction of Lucifer's demons.
I have seen that heavenly power. Your mother possesses it. It was awesome.
You see what you face if you ever become a vampire again.
I have to try. I can't face the thought of dying. Perhaps I'll find the answer in Transylvania.
He's going to Transylvania to find another vampire to transform him, and if he's successful, we better be on hand.
Forgive me for awaking you so early, Melissa. But I need your help immediately. Melissa, awake! Melissa!
Count Dracula, at last you've come back to me.
There's no time to explain, Melissa. I'm mortal, and I must have the venom from your vampire fangs to restore me at once, or I'm a dead man. Hurry! What's so funny, Melissa?
You, Dracula! I won't do it!
What? You dare disobey the command of your vampire master?
You're no longer our master, Dracula, since you became a human being. We know you married a mortal woman and fathered a human baby. Thunder. It was because of this that Satan took away your powers and your immortality, and he gave us a new master.
New one?
And I'm not a bit sorry. You promised that I would be your wife, and then you abandoned me. Now I've promised to marry our new master, Sir Tomo.
Tomo! How dare he call himself master?
is your destruction. We obey.
Hear me!
We won't obey you. You're no longer master.
I am your true master, and I command you to hear me and disperse. You will obey me! You hear me? Stop! Stop it! Obey me! If I can just make it! Open the door! Let me in! Please, let me in! Help me! Open the door! Please, help!
Oh my! You gonna let him in, Billy? Remember what Mother said, Billy. We're not supposed to let anybody in when we're alone, no matter what.
Don't worry, I'm not about to let anybody come in.
Open up, please! Save me from these vampires!
Huh? Vampires? Oh my gosh! Look at all those bats out there. Vampires? He wasn't kidding. There must be hundreds of vampires out there.
Vampires?
We have to let them in.
Hurry up! Lock them out!
All right.
Wow, listen to him.
Are you gonna be all right now, mister? Here, sir. You look like you must be starved to death. Here's some hot soup my mother made.
Soup! Don't be a fool! Our lives are in danger! I have to think of some way to prevent them coming in here, or they'll murder all three of you as well as me. There has to be some way I can make them... What's that? Yes! They must be beginning to feel the vibrations of the crosses you're wearing, and that's why they're not trying to come in after me.
It's awful quiet all of a sudden. I'll see if they've gone away. Oh, no! We're surrounded by a bunch of walking dead people.
What? Stand back from the window. Stay behind me and I'll do my best to protect you.
Turn back, mortal. You are not welcome here on the sovereign soil of Tomo, the Vampire Master.
Tomo, you imposter! I have come to challenge your right to assume my title.
My title was given to me by my patron, Lord Lucifer himself, when you betrayed him by committing yourself to a blasphemous marriage with a mortal woman.
Enough talk! There's only one way to settle this. I challenge you to prove yourself worthy of usurping my title by facing me in combat.
It will be a pleasure to have my followers witness your fall in humiliating defeat. On guard, Dracula!
Prepare to meet your death now! You're not even giving me any competition, you ridiculous mortal! How smart are you?
All-powerful master, prince of vampires, we'll obey you. It's the mark of the cross. I didn't defeat him after all. It was the power of the cross that destroyed Tomo. I have been used as an instrument of heaven. Arrgh! Master.
Here he comes.
Hold it!
Huh? I can get him now. My arrow can kill him now that he's lost all of his supernatural powers.
Parker has a plan to get him in the castle, and we don't dare interfere with him, Rachel. Don't you remember what he told us at our last planning session this morning? Remember? Our promise.
Yes.
We have had no success with any of our weapons or strategy against Dracula so far, but I have a secret trump card which I'm ready to spring on him now. I can't divulge the details of my plan, but it's something I must do entirely on my own. You must not interfere.
You can't take him on alone.
Rachel's right, Hans. Whatever your plan is, we want to be in on it too. I'm afraid I must insist that you trust me in this matter, and that you do exactly as I tell you, because if you don't, all of our efforts will have gone for nothing. Why are you looking at me as though you think I've gone insane? Oh, I assure you, life is very dear to me, even though I am just an old cripple. You needn't worry about me.
All right.
Good girl.
Well,
Let's hope.
What's this? I have my fangs back again! Once more I am master of vampires and lord sovereign of the damned! It must be the air in my castle that restored me!
Dracula!
Huh? Hans Harker, I believe. What are you doing in my castle?
After all this time, I finally have you, Count Dracula, and you'll not get away from me. I have come to avenge my murdered family.
You've plagued my life for years, but now I'm going to be rid of you once and for all! Die, Harker!
You have met your just ending, Dracula. That spoke is made of pure silver.
What? Silver? I can't believe I've been so stupid as to be beaten so easily.
Well, that's it, Dracula. I have dedicated my entire life to your destruction, and now my mission has been completed.
Now, Harker, we'll see who has won!
We shall go to meet our judgment together.
He did it. Oh.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to tell me, Janus. I already knew it. Dracula's gone. He's dead!
I know what a nightmare of suffering your life has been, Mother, but that's all in the past now, and you must try to make a new beginning.
Oh, how can I think about a new beginning, Janus? There's nothing to live for anymore.
I'll always be with you, and through me, he'll be with you as well.
You represent the best of both of us, son. I know he's as proud of you as I am.
You think so?
Of course he is. What? Oh, Janus. There is something left to live for after all, my son, and we shall make a new beginning together.
In Transylvania, crumbling ruins are all that remain of Count Dracula's castle, symbolic of the crumbled ruin of his mortal life on Earth. A once mighty fortress, fallen to rubble and decay, haunted by tragic memories of a once mighty warrior and leader, fallen to the decadence and depravity of mortal sin. In the end, he was a man, inevitably destined to face the eventual fate of all men. But while death is the inescapable destiny of each mortal being, life itself is eternal, and mortal men live on in the memory of future generations. Their great deeds inspire others to greatness, and their evil deeds serve as a warning to all. The ultimate truth remains: life and love are everlasting.
And there we have it. Dracula is ended by way of getting blowed up real good.
Even in a cartoon, you gotta appreciate a good explosion.
Indeed. I mean, this movie is not well appreciated by people who've seen it. It's trying to tell 7 years worth of serialized tales in only 90 minutes. And on top of that, it's something turned into a Japanese story, then translated back to English. I mean, if you ask me, it feels like that too. It feels like that there are several layers that are separating it from what it was really trying to do, when it could have just tried to focus on a single story in the whole of the Tomb of Dracula series.
Well, I gotta say, I thought the movie was kind of interesting from where I was sitting. I liked the one guy in the wheelchair was chasing Frank around with his cane, and then Frank putting that old guy in the wheelchair in a headlock was pretty dang funny. Naturally, Satan is a red, super jacked, sexy beefcake. Damn, I would consider being Satan's bride if that's what he was gonna look like. And they kill a baby in this movie. That's pretty metal. If I have one thing to definitely dock the movie a poop, it's the pretty stinky monologues from Dolores. The voice acting isn't particularly great, but still, I gotta give this one a solid 4 poops out of 5.
That's fair. This was the product of Toei Animation. Now, Toei and Marvel was at the end of a 3-year licensing agreement where either party could take and adapt anything they wanted. Now, Marvel created Shogun Warriors based on a property that Toei had, and Toei made that live-action Spider-Man. But they were also the creators of the Super Sentai series, and that would later be adapted into Power Rangers. Interestingly, that was something Stan Lee wanted to originally import to the United States, but while he basically had a similar idea to what Saban would do with it in the 90s series, he was kind of laughed out of the room back then. While this was basically the end of the open agreement between Toei and Marvel, Toei would continue working with Marvel on basically all of their animated series into the 80s. This included series like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, the first 2 seasons of the Transformers, Dungeons & Dragons, and basically anything else in the 80s that Marvel Productions made with Sunbow. Toei to this day is still one of the great animation studios in Japan. And when this movie was brought over to the United States, it was imported by Harmony Gold USA. Now, Harmony Gold is a really, really interesting story that could go on for an entire episode all by itself. Let's just say that Harmony Gold one day decided to import the anime series Macross. And from that, they created Robotech. Now, the way Robotech sliced and diced Macross in so many different ways to form its series is pretty insane. For literal decades, Harmony Gold hawkishly kept the rights to Robotech and the associated characters, and that prevented even Macross from being broadcast in its original form here in the United States. That might be different today, but it's not easy for Americans to legally see the source material that created Robotech. Now, if you know anything about Transformers, you know that Hasbro imported a Macross toy to become Jetfire, which caused all sorts of issues for the TV series and Hasbro with the character when Harmony Gold tries shutting down anything that could possibly resemble anything from Robotech, and it's a whole mess that makes naming the character either Jetfire or Skyfire a whole thing to take into consideration. It's a pretty confusing mess.
Well, I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can even appropriately relay the info. Wait, what are you doing over there in that getup?
Oh, I figured I'd get a head start on the big, funny conclusion of the episode and dress up like a Lady Dracula.
What?
You know, the episode's big conclusion. I dress up like a Lady Dracula and we make a vampire joke or something. I don't know. I know you have something written for that.
No, I don't.
What?
Because there's nothing about Lady Draculas in the script.
No way. Let me look at the script. Toei Company, Harmony Gold, Marvel. I'm not finding anything about being a Lady Dracula.
Nope.
So, no Lady Dracula thing to close out the Dracula movie?
Nope.
Oh, can I...
Nope.
But I...
Nope.
Bah, I want to suck your blood. Bah.
No.
Oh, you're no fun.
Nope. I mean, I am.
Nope. You said you aren't any fun. That's it. Quick, PC, roll the credits.